What's up everyone, and welcome to our first episode of our new gymnastics series, Unlock Your First. And today I'm going to help you guys go and get your first kipping toes to bar. Now this is a foundational movement for anyone who's interested in functional training or CrossFit training that will also act as a precursor for things like kipping pull-ups, kipping muscle-ups and pullovers later down the track. Now I'm going to keep things pretty simple for you today. We're going to break things down into 3 areas. We're going to start with an assessment, and what that's going to do is help you identify any weaknesses and make sure that you have the prerequisite strength, mobility and skill for this movement before we start doing the actual progressions for it. Then I'm going to take you through our drills and progressions to help you get to your first kipping toes to bar. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you the accessories, actually my top 4 accessories that you can put into any of your training to help you get there faster. We're going to kick things off with our assessment. We want to make sure that we've got the prerequisite amount of scapular strength or lat strength in our shoulders to make sure that we can hang in certain positions, coupled with our midline strength to make sure that we can hit those key positions. So the first assessment is going to be our active arch hold for 30 seconds. You can see with this exercise, what we're doing is we're making sure our shoulders are engaged the entire time. So our shoulders pulled down into our back pockets. Our chest is actually driving forwards and our heels are driving back behind us. We want to make sure that our legs are straight, toes are pointed in this position so that we're actually creating a nice shape that is elastic and easy and efficient for us to use when we're doing our dynamic work. The second thing you want to notice as well is that when I'm hanging in this position, my ears are slightly in front of my arms. Okay, and it shows me that I'm able to actually achieve the right shoulder mobility to get into that position. The second assessment is going to be our 30-second hollow hang. And what we can see with this one, same thing, my shoulders are engaged the entire time, but now I'm thinking about pulling my ribs down towards my hips, straightening my legs and pointing my toes forwards. Now my arms are actually in front of my ears. Okay, so you can see the tips of my ears sticking up behind my arms, and that shows me that now I have that lat strength to actually give myself a little bit of pull on the bar so that when I'm kipping, I'm not just hanging onto ligaments, I'm using my shoulders to do the movement. All right, over to the wall for our third assessment. And all we're doing is looking for a simple toe touch. Can you keep your legs completely straight, fold forwards, flex through the spine, reach down to the floor and touch the floor? Because that will ensure that you can easily flick your legs up to touch the bar when you do your toes to bar. Now the final one with me is over on the bars over here, and this time we're looking at your strict hanging knee raise. Now what this is going to show me is, number 1, can I hang for a certain amount of time? Do I have the core compression strength to actually bring my knees up and get my hip flexors and my abs working to raise those knees? And do I have the shoulder strength to make sure that I'm not swinging when I'm doing this movement too? Okay, so you can see here I'm dead still, my toes are pointed down to the floor in that hollow position, and then as I'm doing the movement, I'm driving those knees up, flexing through the spine, and then pointing back to that same position without swinging. So we want to make sure we can do 10 of these unbroken. What we don't want to see is you swinging when you do the movement using momentum, or touching your foot to the floor to give yourself a little bit of bounce off the ground. So that was pretty simple. We've run through our assessment, nice and easy. Now, if you can't achieve all those prerequisites, it doesn't mean that you can't give this a crack. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to do it specifically. It just means that maybe you're not going to get the best out of these drills that I'm going to show you in a second, and you want to work a little bit more on the accessories that I'm going to show you at the end to help you actually improve some of those areas first. So the beat swing, or understanding the beat swing, is our first step to getting really, really good at toes to bar, and this is what we're going to focus on first. Now, even if you can do this, I would suggest watching this video because it's going to show you the key shapes that are going to allow you to be really efficient through this movement and actually transition nicely from this up to pull-ups, up to muscle-ups, up to pullovers later on down the track. Now, the most common mistakes I see with people's kip swings or beat swings is, number 1, bending to the elbows, number 2, breaking through the knees or swinging with the legs, and number 3 is actually doing a combination of both. When we do this, we are basically limiting our elastic energy that we can generate through the swing, which is going to make each rep feel a lot harder. It's going to stop you from progressing to harder skills like your muscle ups down the track, and it does increase that risk of injury on some of the muscles surrounding the joints. So in order to overcome these mistakes, what we're going to do is segment things down and start with keeping straight arms. So if you're brand new to this exercise or you find yourself bending through the elbows, this is the drill for you. We're going to go through our feet supported beat swing. We're keeping our feet on the ground here. We're thinking about long arms but active shoulders. And what we're focusing on here is just allowing the shoulders to open into that arch position and close into that hollow position. Doing this right, you should feel an elastic recoil on your lats as you push into the arch position, and you should feel yourself almost springing backwards into that hollow position. And what we want to do is avoid diving back and forth with our neck excessively, as you can see in the demonstration here. Once we've established that long elasticity through the lats, what we're going to do is start to tighten up the lower body. So this is perfect for anyone who is notorious for bending their knees or swinging their legs excessively in the kip, or if you're just starting out, this is a crucial step. We're going to use our second drill, which is our foot push beat swing. With this one, what we're thinking about is a target on the floor in which my feet are going to be on the ground to assist into my long arch position. Then when I pull back into my hollow, I'm going to give a little push and rise with the hips, with the core, to make sure that I hit that hollow position. What we want to avoid doing here is excessively piking through the hips. So you can see in my demo, my arms are not doing too much work here. They're pretty much glued to my ears. And what I'm doing is just folding from the hips to create a right angle at the hip crease. And it shows that I'm using my legs way too much and not enough balance between my upper and lower body there. All right, our final step for the beat swing is to just take these two components, blend them together with no foot support, and just go through our normal beat swing. But if you are struggling to get that rhythm, that elastic feeling through the lats, I've got an awesome drill for you over on the rig here. You can see my setup here is with 2 power bands on the outside of the rig. I'm using a pole, but you can use J-hooks to do the exact same thing. And what this is going to do is provide some feedback for the chest and the upper back when I do my beat swing. So when I open into that arch position, I should make sure that my chest is touching the front band and it's springing me back towards that back band for my hollow position. All right, so you've done your beat swing, you're feeling pretty springy in that position. Now we're gonna start to apply that to our toes to bar progressions. Now, the first roadblock that people run into when they're going for toes to bar or trying to get good at toes to bar is they focus too much on trying to get those toes up to the bar for 1 rep instead of thinking about building the correct rhythm to help them go and get multiple reps down the track. So we are going to use our rhythm builder drill to help you establish that good rhythm. We're going to start at a really basic level with 2 beat swings. We're going to use that to get our rhythm right. And then all we want to do is start by adding a little knee tuck up into our hanging knee raise, making sure that when we finish that tuck, we return our foot back to the arch position before we start tucking up again. Once we're feeling confident with our hanging knee raises, now we're going to take the same approach, but to our straight leg raise. We're going to start with 2 hanging knee raises to build the rhythm, and then we're just going to start to straighten our legs out and snap from the hips a little bit more aggressively until those feet rise up above 90 degrees. If you're doing this correctly, each rep is going to set you up for the next rep to try and get those feet a little bit higher. So you might start just above 90, then you'll get a little bit higher than that, then you get a little bit higher, and you'll actually start to get quite close to that first toes to bar. This is a sign that you're ready to go and give the toes to bar a crack. Okay, now it's time to go for our full toes to bar. We can be probably around 10 centimeters behind the bar before we jump up, which will help with our kip swing. So a cue that I love to run through is actually I'm going to snap my toes up to the bar, but I'm also going to pull the bar down to my toes. That should allow you to meet in the middle, bam. We then want to think about driving our heels behind the body, chest forwards to get back to that arch position. This is something that a lot of people forget about. They end up just swinging all over the place. If you've got good hamstring mobility, you can focus on having straight legs because it's going to be easier for you to efficiently cycle through this movement. But if you have a little bit more restricted hamstrings, well then you can soften the knee a bit as well, okay? What we do want to avoid though when we do this is excessive pulling with the lats and arching through the back, and also having what we call a lazy hip, which is where we're not snapping enough through the hip to get up. Awesome. So by now you've done the assessment, you've practiced our drills, and you may have even got your first toes to bar. However, how do we go from here and then goes to start get more capacity for our toes to bar, get more efficient with the movement? Or if you haven't quite got to that toes to bar yet, how do we actually go and bridge the gap between the drill progressions and getting your first unbroken set of 10 toes to bar? Well, this is where our accessories come into play really well. The first one is for those who have restricted shoulder and thoracic mobility. The ring spine opener is exactly what you need. We are starting off lowering ourselves down into that position where we're opening the shoulders, driving the chest through and getting that stretch through the front of the chest, the lats and the upper back. Once we've held there for 15 seconds, we can then turn onto one side just to target the lats on one side. And then turn onto the other side so we can target the lat on the other side. Our next accessory is all about improving your posterior chain mobility. So if you struggled with that toe touch, this is what you would need to do. We're doing the Jefferson curl. This is a loaded gymnastics mobility drill designed to help you fold forwards, lengthen out the posterior chain, so your hamstrings, calves, lower back, upper back, and then compress, which means basically being able to fold yourself in half using your abs, hip flexors, and all the muscles on the front of the body. This will ensure that when you go to flick your toes up, you've got less restriction from your posterior chain and more contraction from your anterior chain to actually do that toes to bar. So we want to start standing tall, folding forwards, allowing that weight to pull us down, making sure that we flex not just through the hips, but through all the vertebrae in the upper and lower back until we get to a sort of resting point. From here, we want to actively compress. Think about squishing your stomach to your thighs, pushing that weight down to the floor and straightening the legs for 10 seconds. Before we relax, come back to that resting point and then go and do that 3 times. All right, so we have finished with our mobility accessories. Now our third accessory is our hollow body lat pull down, and this is more about building strength through the lats plus that midline position to help you get that pull back in your toes to bar so that you can then snap your toes up. With this movement, we want to attach a power band up to the top of a squat rack, and then we're going to have that pulling down at an angle with a stick, focusing on maintaining a hollow body position, which means our lower back is flat, our hands are just above the shoulder height, and our feet are just above hip height, maintaining that position whilst pulling down with straight arms on that band. We want to pause for 5 seconds in the bottom position to really feel that contraction through the lats, and then slowly lower back overhead with control. And our final accessory is all about working on that core conditioning and that timing for you to get that perfect snap of that upper body and lower body in with the toes to bar. So this is called our V-snap. We are laying down in a hollow body position. We are thinking about piking through the hips, raising those toes up, reaching those hands towards the toes so that we can meet in the middle. We then lower back down to the hollow body position and repeat. The focus in here is being really, really dynamic out of that hollow position, just like we are doing the toes to bar and trying to mimic that contact point that we would get for the toes to bar. All right, guys, that is everything you need to know to nail your first kipping toes to bar. If you found value in this video, give it a like, share it with a mate who needs it, and obviously subscribe to get more of my content coming out about how to get these epic skills. In the meantime, keep crushing your goals, keep making gains, keep spreading good vibes, and I will see you next time. Bye.